Hey everybody, I'm measuring for square right now. I've got the front of that tape measure hooked to the outermost part of the A-arm, and that part is fixed on the frame now. So my goal is to get my wheelbase the same length on both sides. So right now I'm at 126 and 3/8. 126 and 5/16 to the front of this full floater axle. So I'll check the other side and see where I'm at, and knock this rear end around with a sledgehammer if I need to. Okay, my other side was 126 and 5/16. Whoa, this one's 126 and 5/8. I have no binding from the tire straight to here, so that means this length is 5/16 of an inch longer. And if my calculations are correct, that means my rear end is like this. So that'll be dog tracking this way. So my rear end will want to be steering out into the oncoming traffic. And that's all correctable kind of with the front end alignment, but you're still going to have misalignment of the entire vehicle going on the road. There's still going to affect tire wear and all that. So I'd rather get it as close as I can before I send it in for an alignment. Speaking of front end alignment, I took my digital protractor here and referenced my 0 on the cross member of the truck. And then I put it here and gave myself -1/2 degree of camber. So the top is actually pointed in a little bit. I did that on both sides. So I'm at 89.5 degrees of camber. And then I also just eyeballed for now, and I'll see how it feels. I eyeballed the inside of that tire, front and back, and basically got to the point where I could just see the drum. And I did that on both sides. And obviously that's going to change once it gets on the ground and settles and everything. But it's going to be close enough that I can set my ride height. I think the ride height is supposed to be measured as a distance or difference between this point of the control arm and this point of the control arm. And I think they say between 3 and 5 inches, so optimally 4 inches. So all of these measurements are just close enough to get to where I need to be. Well, I use my Milwaukee metal cutting saw, a piece of scrap metal. I bent up a little Z bracket for the brake line, and I was able to just disconnect some of the clips on the brake line and just move it a little bit to get out from underneath or above that cross member, and just pulled it down. Now I've got plenty of slack in the brake hose. Actually probably another inch more than stock, and then it's ready to go. I shot some black paint on a few bare things. You can see that got plenty more to go. But before this gets on the road, I'm going to do some serious undercoating. So all this should be protected very well. So that hole right there used to be where this mounted. And so since the whole differential dropped 6 inches or so, now the front drive shaft is right in the way of that crossover pipe for the exhaust. So that's my next problem. Well, this here is a exhaust bender machine that I've only ever used before for the expander tool that's over on the end. So I'm going to dig this thing out, and I probably won't record much because I've never used it, and I want to focus on doing it right and thinking this through correctly and all that. But I grabbed a couple sticks, 10.5 foot, 2.5 inch tubing for exhaust. Well, I'm getting somewhere with the exhaust. I got it run all the way back behind the transfer case. Working on an H pipe right now. it's coming along okay. I just got to keep grinding and fitting. My little extension pieces there are pushed out about 1/4 inch each, so I just need to grind them in so they're parallel with the rest of the system. And then I've got these stainless steel 2.5 inch MagnaFlows. They're part number 11226. They were about $100 a piece from the local AutoZones. Plural, because I had to drive around all day around town looking for 2 stores that each had 1 muffler. Check out that do. I'm planning on, for now, just running them out of the mufflers and then up over the exhaust and then just dumping down. We'll see how it sounds. I don't want it to be too loud, but I'm also kind of short on time, I think, like I mentioned. I'm getting the hang of this exhaust tubing bender. I'm enjoying it, making my own expansions and everything else. I did learn one thing. Don't try to expand pipe that's from 1997 that happens to be a down pipe with, like, I don't know, 5 inches of length, because it just splits the whole thing right at the weld. So I had to put that back together, weld it. But, yeah, whatever. All right, those mufflers are welded in. H-pipe's welded in. That's all on a slip-on clamp piece. You can see where the clamps are up there. So that whole rear section can come loose. I'm thinking some hangers will go right on that rear cross member. And then I think I'm getting comfortable enough with a tubing bender, and I've got 10.5 foot left of tubing. So I'm going to come out, come back like 10 inches or so, 45 over, and then 45 to be right in line between the shock and the spring, and come up over the axle and then dump down at a 45. I think that's going to be pretty slick. It's going to be just as high, if not higher than, say, the hitch. And so everything's going to have plenty of ground clearance and everything else and be up good and tight. But I think that's going to sound really good. I don't know. Looking forward to this. Hoping tonight I can hear this thing run. Well, that's about just how I envisioned it. I got some lines in there with a cut mark on both sides, and so I'll take that down. I've got to do one more hanger on each side so it's good and solid, and then I'll take it apart, do all the top welds, cut those tips off and dress the cuts, and put it all back together. See how this sounds. Well, it looks like I miscalculated the fact that I can't pull this without removing the drive shaft. So I've got enough room now, I can just weld it from top and get everything good and done and put it back together. You can see where I've got my clamp provisions, and it's good to go. And I gotta drill my hanger holes in the frame up here too. There we go.